All right.
Nice.
Well, this weekend has an event, and the event has a name, and the name is UFC Fight Night. Ankalaev versus Walker 2.
We're back,
Not
boys.
going. What's that?
We're back. We've
That's
made
right,
it through the
baby.
wilderness.
Yeah, I feel like we were gone for like 2 months.
Dude, it felt forever.
Excuse me. So the rematch is happening. Ankalaev versus Walker 2. They are running it back, and they are running it back right away. And this time, it ain't in the desert in Abu Dhabi. It is going down at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. And we have a very nice main card to be previewing for you folks. 5 fights on the main card. Before we get to any of these 5, are there any fights or fighters on the prelims that you guys want to quickly just spotlight and say, like, hey, make sure, folks, this person's fighting or this fight is happening. This is one that you want to watch.
I mean, the card's
I'll give you one
good,
for
to be
sure.
honest.
What'd you say?
I said the card's pretty good, for being honest. There's some decent names all over this card.
Yeah, it is pretty good. My standout undercard fight is absolutely Farid Basharat versus Taylor Lapalus. They are both super talented guys. They can do pretty much anything you want them to do in there. I kind of wish that was not the matchup because I'd like to see them both working their way up. And it's unfortunate that one of them has to take a loss already at this point, where I think they both have the talent to be a lot higher up in this division than they are looked at the moment. But either way, that's going to be an awesome fight. Definitely a coin toss type of fight, in my opinion.
For sure.
There are some good names on this fight, on this card. You've got guys like Andrei Arlovsky, who is headlining the prelims, it looks like, against Waldo Cortez Acosta. Why do I feel like they fought already? Did they not fight?
No, they haven't fought.
Just another big dude. I could have swore they fought. Matthew Semmelsberger is on this card. He's be fighting Preston Parsons. Marcus McGee has been having some really good success in the octagon as of late. He's going to be fighting Gaston Bolanos. Nicholas Moda's on this card against Tom Nolan, excuse me. There's some good fights on this card here. Definitely worth checking out. The main card's pretty solid, though, I got to say. Much more so than the prelims, but yeah, it's a good card.
Okay, let us begin with the fight that is opening the main card. UFC Fight Night Ankalaev versus Walker 2. Going down in the middleweight division, Phil No Hype Hawes taking on Brunno the Hulk Ferreira. So Phil Hawes, the 35-year-old out of New Jersey, USA, 12-5 as a pro with 8 knockouts. And he's looking very much to get back into the win column after back-to-back knockout losses at the hands of Roman Dolidze and Ikram Aliskerov. He'll be taking on another knockout artist, though, in Brunno Ferreira, the Hulk. And for a good reason, he has this nickname. He is the 31-year-old out of Curitiba, Brazil, 10-1 as a pro. All 10 of his wins, finishes, 7 of them knockouts. He just suffered his first knockout loss, his first loss, back in July of 2023 against Ruziboev. Am I saying that name wrong?
No, you're right.
Thank you. So these two guys, both heavy hitters, squaring off in the middleweight division, opening the main card of this Fight Night card. Mark, tell us who you think is going to win and how it's going to go down.
So really tight odds to open up this main card. Phil Hawes is even money, plus 100. Brunno Ferreira is a slight favorite at minus 125. There are 2 inches of height and 5.5 inches of reach on the Phil Hawes side of the equation. Oh. So that's quite a bit. I'm going to take Phil Hawes. I still think he's a quality middleweight. I think he's a better overall fighter than Brunno Ferreira is. I know that things haven't been going great for Phil Hawes. I know the chin has looked pretty suspect. I know Ferreira is the Hulk and he fucking swings big leather at people. So I get it. And I'm sure that's why the odds are what they are, even though Phil Hawes has the much more proven resume of the two. But I think he's better everywhere. He is the cleaner striker for certain. He's quicker. He carries power himself. He's a top shelf wrestler. He can take it there. You know, it's a dangerous fight because, as I said, Ferreira's going to be swinging those hammers. But I would just like to believe that Hawes can avoid the big bomb one time and that the same thing is not going to just keep playing out every single fight. So he needs the win. I'm going to say he can fight smart and get it, mix it up, out wrestle Ferreira, you know, look okay on the feet, rely on that reach to keep some space, and maybe even finish this thing on the ground. I'm actually going to say he does that. I will say Phil Hawes, round 3, TKO.
Okay, Omar?
I don't trust Phil Hawes' fucking chin as far as I could throw Phil Hawes. Man.
I can't quit this man. I don't
can't.
know why.
Yeah, I'm not about it, man. He has been slept like once a year for like the last 2 or 3 years at this point. Can't do it.
It's true. It's true.
Especially with a guy who looks like if he like flicked you on your fucking jaw, he would knock you out. I can't do it. So I think this is going to be a violent fight from the jump. I can't see these guys having any kind of feeling out process. And the other part of it is I don't trust Phil Hawes to actually use that length with any kind of like intelligence. I don't see him establishing range with his jab. I don't see him establishing range with his legs. I see the distance getting crashed into very easily by somebody like Bruno Ferreira. I don't think Ferreira is going to want to play on the outside for very long. And I think he knows he needs one good shot, and all he needs to do is just shut off Phil Hawes' body, which can be done. So I'm going to go with Ferreira, man, and I think he knocks him out in 1.
For all the same reasons, I too am going with the Hulk here. I'll just bullet point them because Omar already fleshed them out pretty much. At this point, I'm not trusting Phil Hawes' chin. Omar's right. He was knocked out in 21. He was knocked out in 22. And he was knocked out in 23. 3 of his last four outings have ended with him face down on the canvas, unfortunately. As talented as he is, this is not the best matchup for him at middleweight. Yeah. And Ferreira seems like the middleweight who can and will be willing to exchange and maybe take one to give one. And I think he might take one from Phil Hawes. This might be the kind of fight where Phil Hawes nearly gets Ferreira out of there. But then Ferreira kind of survives and lands his own monster shot and Phil Hawes goes out.
Which fight was it where he was looking incredible? Was it the Chris Curtis fight?
I believe so.
Where he was like piecing Chris Curtis up all fight and then he just got one hitter quitted? I think it was.
Yeah. Well,
dude, the way his body just says no, like Phil Hawes' just whole body just shuts off is crazy to me. Like he's never, I don't think we've ever seen Phil Hawes like turtle up or like get backed into a corner, get beat on a little bit. You know, like Phil Hawes either is fucking asleep or he's fighting. It's like one or the other. He's never really in a shelled up defensive position.
And it's all partly because of the division that he's in. I mean, these are middleweights. These are big guys, and they all carry big power.
Except
here we go. Simone versus Bautista. So Ricky Simone taking on Mario Bautista. Ricky Simone, a little bit of a fan favorite, the 31-year-old out of Vancouver, Washington, USA, 20-4 as a professional fighter. Out of his 20 wins, 10 have come by finish. 6 of those are knockouts. After a 5-fight win streak, it was snapped by Song Yidong back in April of 2023. So nearly a year for Ricky Simone coming back into the octagon here, taking on Mario Bautista, 30 years old, out of Phoenix, Arizona, 13-2 as a pro, with 6 submission victories, riding a 5-fight win streak coming into this weekend. Omar, tell us who's going to win and how they're going to do it.
This is actually a hell of a fight right here. From a
great fight.
From a stylistic matchup, this is probably going to be one of the more high high-paced fights that we're going to have this whole night. And I think the thing that makes this fight really difficult to choose is both of these guys fight very similarly to one another. And I think it's really going to be a matter of who gets there first, I guess, in terms of the opportunities on the ground, because I do think this fight ends up on the ground. And I think these guys are going to be vying for position, vying for that submission attempt. And I just think Ricky Simone's a little bit more scrambly. I think he's even with his scrambles, I think he's still very precise. I think a lot of guys can sometimes be too wild in their scrambles without kind of having a plan as to what they want to do or where they want to go. Sometimes they get scrambly and just wherever they fall is where they fall and they work from there. I think Ricky Simone is just a little bit more planned out than that, even in his wildness. And I think he's going to be able to use that and impose his will a little bit on the ground. I don't know if either one of these guys are going to be able to finish each other, to be honest. I think both of them, like I said, are pretty durable and pretty similar in how they fight. So I think it's going to go decision, but I think it's going to be a wild fucking fight. And I'm going to go Ricky Simone by unanimous decision.
I'm with you, dude. I'm a big Ricky Simone fan, and I think this is a tough fight. I think the odds are going to be fairly close.
Yeah.
Mark. And we'll see about that in just a second. But yeah, these are two strong bantamweights, man. And I don't know. I mean, I think anybody could get knocked out in this fight. They both hit hard. And I think that Ricky Simone is going to hand Mario Bautista a rare knockout loss in his career. Give me Ricky Simone by TKO in the second round. Mark?
Interesting.
Yes, it is another one with pretty close odds, a little wider than our first one. Simone is favored at minus 165. Bautista is a plus 135 underdog. Bautista is 3 inches taller than Simone, but Simone actually has a 1-inch reach advantage. And yeah, I mean, you guys kind of alluded to it. It's a little bit of a mirror fight in some ways here, but I can't shake the idea that Mario Bautista is kind of like the bit lesser version of Ricky Simone. I'm just not sure where he can expose Simone necessarily. I mean, maybe he could catch him in the grappling, or lean on the leg kicks, but I just think the fight mostly favors Simone. I think he's faster. He has quicker hands for sure. He has the more natural power, the cleaner boxer, and I do think he'll be the better wrestler when this hits the mat. So he may have to deal with some tricky setups and things like that from Bautista on the mat. But I'm going to go with Ricky Simone to bounce back here and get himself a solid win. I'll say it's 29-28 UD for Ricky Simone.
Nice. We are unanimous in taking Ricky Simone. Okay, we go down now to flyweight. Manel, Kape taking on Matheus, Nicolau.
No, you skipped the fight, Mike.
What the fuck? What fight did I skip?
Jim Miller and Benitez.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Jim Miller's wild, first of all.
I skipped that shit.
Fighting in January and then wanting to fight at UFC 300 in April. I didn't even realize he was fighting in January.
Yup.
He's a wild man, that one. But that might be it for him, right? Like once he hits 300, I think he said he was done after that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. He better just hope he's healthy coming out of this one.
That was literally my thought.
Okay, lightweights. Jim Miller taking on Gabriel Benitez. Jim Miller, A10, is the 40-year-old fighting out of Sparta, New Jersey. His record stands at 36-17 and 1 no contest, with 19 wins by submission and 7 more wins by knockout or TKO. Coming to this fight with a win over Jesse Butler back in June of 23, looking to extend his record to 37-17. Oh my goodness. Gabriel Benitez will be taking him on. No spring chicken himself. He is the 35-year-old out of Tijuana, Baja California, Mexico. 23-10 as a pro. 19 finishes out of his 23 wins. 10 of those are submissions. He also is coming off of a win here over Charlie Ontiveros back in August of 2022 by TKO. Omar, start us off once again. Give us your take and your pick for Miller versus Benitez.
Well, it's I'm interested to see what the odds are here because I think they should be like looking at the UFC's website. These odds should be, I think, a lot wider than they are. I love Gabriel Benitez. I've been a big fan of his just from I watched him when he was on Tough Latin America. It was one of those things where you got to know a lot of these guys and you got to appreciate them and things like that. But like Gabriel Benitez very much has a ceiling. He's a 7-6 fighter in the UFC. He's basically 50-50. No shade to Benitez. The man is a scrapper, 100%. Definitely always comes in there to fight. But, there are guys that have, just a different skill sets that just don't vie to his abilities. And I think Jim Miller is one of these guys that not only has a skill set that could be a real problem for Benitez, both on the ground and standing up, but he also has worlds of experience over Benitez. So as much as I like Benitez, as much as I want to see Benitez winning, I just don't think this is the one that is made for him to win. I think Jim Miller has every opportunity here to piece up Benitez and, really do what he wants to a certain extent. So I'm going to go with Jim Miller here. Knowing how Jim Miller works, I'm going to go with the submission here, rear naked choke, round 2.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm with you, dude. I'm going with Jim Miller as well. I think you said it really well. I think this is a fight that in some sense is well made for the 40-year-old to go in there and have a good scrap and maybe come out with another win on his way to that 300 card. So give me Jim Miller by UD. Mark?
So yeah, the odds you alluded to, they are super tight. It's basically a pick 'em. Jim Miller's minus 115, Gabriel Benitez is minus 105. So you're paying the vig on either guy. Height and reach are identical. But yeah, this is 2 fights in a row that we're kind of all seeing the same way. I do think it's going to be a fun fight because Gabriel Benitez always comes to scrap and he will find 100%. Ways to finish dudes when it looks like he may not, have things going his way. He's always live. But I just think Jim Miller's a bit too much. Like, I get it. He's 40, but he's still won 4 out of his last 5 fights. He's not going anywhere. And he is still a really tough guy to win a firefight against. And firefights are what Gabriel Benitez generally does. So I don't think it's a great matchup. As you guys said, I think Miller is comfortable. If this gets uglied up, he may even be the one to try to really make it into phone booth exchange style fights, dirty boxing, go to his grappling, and I think he can outwork Benitez and eventually finish him. So I'm on same as Omar. I'm going to say round 2 sub.
Okay. Nice. Okay, here we go. Down to the flyweights. Manel Kape taking on how do you say his first name? Is it Matheus?
I believe. Or is it?
Matheus.
Yeah. I think he says it like that. Yes, I think.
Matheus Nicolau. So here we go. Nicolau, the 31-year-old out of Brazil, 19-3 with 1 draw, 10 finishes. Matheus. Yeah, it might be Matheus. Coming off of a knockout loss at the hands of Brandon Royval back in April. And he will be taking on the rising Manel Kape, Starboy, the 30-year-old out of Angola. His pro record stands at 19-6 coming into this Saturday night. Only 3 of his 19 wins have gone the distance. He has 5 knockout victories and 11 submission victories coming into this weekend. And he's riding a 4-fight win streak coming into this fight as well. Most recently, getting a UD over Felipe dos Santos back in September. Mark, let's get it out of the way. Tell us your pick and your fight. Your go.
Now I'm choking. Oh, that was great. All right. So finally we get a fight where the odds are a little bit wider. Manel Kape is favored pretty pretty significantly for a guy who lost the first fight.
Yeah.
He is minus 250. Nicolau is a plus 200 underdog. So yeah, 1 inch of height for Nicolau, but 2 inches of reach for Kape. And yeah, I don't know if Mike said this in the intro. Sorry if I missed it, but this is a rematch of a fight that happened in
that's right.
March of 2021. Nicolau won the fight, but let's be honest, no one scored that fight for Nicolau. I believe anyone who I heard have a take on that fight did have it for Manel Kape, myself included. He has been vocal about it for a while, Kape, so I'm sure he's excited to have the chance to right what he feels like was a big wrong on his record. And I think he'll do that. Nicolau's good, don't get me wrong.
He's
But I don't think he has improved the way that Manel Kape has since their first fight. I think Kape was already better at that point, but he had to adapt to the UFC coming over from Asia, where some different rule sets, some different styles where he was fighting. And I think it took him a little bit to adapt to what the judges want to see. And I think he has very much figured that out. I think he is very much in his prime right now. And I think he can get past this test. I think he's going to play the sniper role in this matchup that we have often seen him very capable of playing. I think he's in and out faster, cleaner, and just pulls away more and more as the fight goes on and he starts to pile up some damage. So I will go with Manel Kape to win AUD.
Omar?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, man. I also thought that Manel Kape won that fight. And kind of similarly to Mark, I just feel like Manel Kape's ceiling even back then was higher than Nicolau's. I haven't really seen anything that makes me think that Nicolau's ceiling has changed, especially with his recent loss to Brandon Royval, who recently lost to the champ. It just seems like he's not, he just may not be there right at this very second. Nicolau has a ton of potential. We don't know where that ceiling really is, but as of right now, I just think Manel Kape is just past him, I think, at this point. So I think this fight will be good to solidify that, to remove all the controversy from the first fight. I think Kape will make this one a lot cleaner. There won't be any split decision, I think, involved. I think this one is going to end in a finish, and I think we're going to see a second round TKO.
That'd be big.
Manel Kape seems to fight with a real chip on his shoulder. I'll never forget that press conference from this past year where he just wanted to fight everybody, including Israel Adesanya.
Yes.
And he's a damn talented fighter too. And I think that he's really going to have a huge year, and it's going to start this Saturday night with a knockout win over Matheus Nicolau. So give me another first round loss for Nicolau, getting knocked out this time by Manel Kape.
Love it.
Okay. Main event time. Ankalaev versus Walker 2. So here we go. Magomed Ankalaev, the 31-year-old out of Dagestan, Russia, 17-1 as a pro, also 1 draw and 1 no contest on his record. 9 victories by knockout, no victories by submission, just worth noting. Let's see. Hasn't lost a fight since Paul Craig beat him at UFC Fight Night Verdum versus Volkov back in March of 2018. Might have been his debut.
It was.
It was his debut. So. That's right. He lost his debut.
Crazy.
Wow. So
and he won 99.9% of that Paul Craig fight.
Yeah.
I have to rewatch it.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, he got triangled with 1 second left
at the end of the fight.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Paul Craig was on the bottom the whole time, just eating shit, and then he did a Paul Craig and won.
Yep, it's Scottish magic. Okay, so since then, he went on a 9-fight win streak, a streak which finally took a detour with a draw against Jan Blachowicz for the title, and then right after that, the no contest in the desert in Abu Dhabi. Yes, against Johnny Walker back in October. And now him and Walker are running it right back, this time not in the desert, but at the Apex. So here we go. Omar, give us your take and your pick.
I think the thing that makes this fight really interesting for me is the durability aspect of it. I think both of these guys know how to dish out the punishment, and I think it's really going to come down to who can eat more shit. And I think Ankalaev is just more durable. You know, I like Johnny Walker, but like I said, his style has changed a little bit. He's a little bit more patient, but he also, I'm concerned about the output, especially when you have somebody like Ankalaev who is more than willing to kick your shit off and to throw punches at your face. So I just think the violence we're going to see a little bit more from Ankalaev than we are from Johnny Walker. I probably, at this point, I expect Johnny Walker to try to do more lateral movement and circling and try to keeping distance a lot more than Ankalaev will attempt to. So I think Ankalaev is going to be the one to bring the fight, and I think it's going to work against Johnny Walker in that sense. So I'm going to go with Ankalaev here. I think he catches Johnny Walker in something, but I don't think it happens till late. So I'm going to go with Johnny Walker or Ankalaev by KO round 4.
I have to stick with my guy, Johnny Walker. This is a really tough fight to pick him in for the reasons Omar just very smartly laid out. What's that?
I was trying to help you. I threw out an adjective for you.
No, it's just late. My brain is shutting down.
Eloquently was a nice word, though. I like
eloquently laid out.
Thank you.
Ankalaev is durable, and I do agree. I think he's more durable than Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker is an interesting formula at 205 pounds. But again, as I alluded to earlier, I think with the help of John Kavanagh, we are seeing a more and more patient Johnny Walker. Like, I feel like John Kavanagh took Johnny Walker with his hands on either side of his big head and was like, Johnny, repeat after me. And Johnny was like, okay, coach. He was like, I am a giant. And Johnny was like, I'm a giant. He's like, when I hit people, they fall down. When I hit people, they fall down. I just have to be more patient. I just have to be, okay. So, yeah, I think Ankalaev very easily could win this fight. This is not a very, very confident pick, but I'm going to go with my guy. I think that Ankalaev is going to walk away from this fight and be like, God, he's just a big motherfucker. He's just a fucking big dude. And I think Johnny Walker walks away, giving Ankalaev his first TKO loss, I'll say round 3 in the middle of the fight. Mark.
All right, so the odds are very wide. They've gotten significantly wider from the wild odds on the first fight. The first one was about minus 360 for Ankalaev. He is now minus 480. And similarly, Walker was like plus 260. Now he's plus 360. So I'm not sure what they saw in that first fight. I guess just they thought seeing Ankalaev get him down quickly, and that has swung these odds even a bit further. But yeah, they're pretty wide. Size-wise, as we know, a lot in Walker's favor. He is 3 inches taller. He will have a 7-inch reach advantage. And I said this last time. I still feel the same this time. If there is a guy who can beat Magomed Ankalaev, Johnny Walker's not a bad candidate to do it, simply because Magomed is a guy who doesn't generally take a ton of risks. He wants to be the one deciding what's happening in the fight. And if there's someone who can force a mistake out of him, you know, that wild, aggressive style that Johnny can bring in there is something that could generate that mistake. And there can be a huge strike that lands for Johnny at any time. So I do think he's live. But also, as I said last time, I can't actually get myself to pick that. Just because Magomed is so well-rounded, A, he should be okay on the feet. And then B, I think we might finally see him truly lean on his wrestling from the jump here. It looked like he wanted to go that route last fight. I think he learned something in the Jan fight and realized, like, you know what? I can really dominate these guys with my wrestling. Why am I fucking around and getting my legs torn to shit and whatever else? So I would like to think that we're going to see a little bit more of a focus on wrestling from him. Johnny's grappling is improving. Tapped out, who was it? Kutelaba fairly recently and looked good doing it. But even so, Ankalaev is just really smothering when he's on top, and that's really what I see for the most part here. So I think Omar might have said the same thing, but I'm going to go with a late TKO for Magomed. I will say round 4.
Yep.
Cool. And there you have it. We did it.